Here's a little story of the old country churches. You remember these growing up. Our fathers, grandfathers, our elders went to, and the life they done here in these Appalachian mountains. Now these old Appalachians, they're scattered with these little churches all up and down these mountains. Here's what they looked like back then, and a lot of them still do today. Just little community churches spread out through these mountains. Now everybody's heard of the Bible Belt. This is the Bible Belt, what it consists of, the states and the areas. And it's just something I've always heard growing up. But it don't just pertain to just this. The whole country has these little churches, and they still do today. You can still all up and down these Appalachians and these hollers see these little country churches. They're not gone. There's not as many as there used to be, but they're still around. Most of them are big churches now. Old churches like this are boarded up, if you even see them at all. A lot of them's tore down. They built big, better churches. Here's an old church from Lawson, Tennessee. It's under the lake now. Old church. Here's another church that's under the lake in North Lake. Old Church of Sharp's Chapel back in there. These old churches are a thing of the past. Here's an old one from the early 1930s called the White Church in Lost Creek, which is on Chuck Swan, the peninsula. It was gone when they built the lake and shut it down because it was isolated. But they're still around. Here's a little old church. It's more or less just a museum piece now. Down in Speedville, Tennessee, down in Powell Valley. But this is the way these little churches started out back in the day. And they grew from there. And it wasn't nothing growing up. And still in some places, in these backcountry roads, you'll see signs like this. All up and down these rural areas. And most people lived on farms or mining camps up and down these Appalachians and these hollers. They didn't have no big money. They lived a simple life, but they believed in God. And everybody in their community tried to go to these little churches and support them. They all worked together to support their community through the church. And little old churches used to look like this. The men would sit on one side and the women would sit on another. This is some denominations. Other denominations, it didn't matter. Old picture. And some denominations didn't matter, men or women, they sit together, listening to the Word of God preached in these little old country churches. And I can remember them having all-night prayer villages over people that was sick or things happening in the community. They would all pray in the church. And I remember too having prayer meetings at people's homes. And everybody would pray together. That was nothing new when I was growing up. And I can remember Vacation Bible School. First thing after school was out in early summer. The kids went to vacation Bible school. That was a fun time back in the day, and it still goes on today. And you can remember the old tent revivals that would come around these small towns and communities. I can remember them growing up. Probably y'all do too. A lot of people were saved at these tent revivals back in the day. And every Sunday, somewhere up and down these Appalachias, when there was some creeks or fresh water, rivers, it didn't matter, there would be a baptizing. All up and down these rural areas in Appalachia, that's the way it was. And they would all gather around on Sunday afternoon for these baptizing, family, friends, church members. And here's an old picture of a baptizing going on in Clinch River. Of course, this is North Lake now. This is the old 33 bridge back before the lake come in. Look at the people up there along that road. It got to be hundreds of people watching this baptizing. And it didn't matter what color you was. It didn't matter what you was. All these religions, everybody had a baptizing. Everybody believed in the Lord. And they would all gather up to church, down to the place where they baptized these creeks and lead each other into the water. Now here's some old pictures of live baptizing when I was a child. A church I managed to get a hold of. This is back in the early 60s. This is a big thing, and it still is today. Now this is me when I was 8 years old. A lot of our people, our elders, is going on to meet the Lord. But I'm not worried about that because I will see them again. But we miss them so bad. And here is a picture of my father. If you watch this channel, The Little Rebel of the Gap, this was his last trip through his beloved Cumberland Gap on his way to his resting place. Now these old churches, there's not as many as there was, but there's still little churches all up and down these Appalachias and all the rural areas in America. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. And I just want to say God bless each and every one of you, and hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.